The silence of deep space is a myth. You know this better than anyone. There is always a hum. The gentle thrum of life support is your constant companion. The quiet clicks of cooling systems are a familiar song. Even the stars whisper in the radio frequencies. But this was different. This was a true and perfect silence. A void within the void. Your watch had been uneventful for 217 straight days. You measured your life in coffee rations and diagnostic reports. The starfield outside your viewport was a constant, painted canvas. It was beautiful in its endlessness. It was also profoundly boring. You were the sole keeper of Watchtower Epsilon, a lonely guardian at the edge of known space. Your job was simple. Watch. Listen. Report anything unusual. Today, something unusual finally happened. It began without a flash. No explosion. No ripple in space-time that your sensors could detect. One moment, there was only the familiar tapestry of stars. The next, a wound appeared in the black. It was a line of absolute nothing. A tear so straight and clean it looked like a surgeon's cut. It did not glow. It did not swirl. It simply erased the stars behind it. A perfect black line hanging in the cosmos. You lean forward in your command chair. Your heart hammers against your ribs. Your training takes over. You run a full spectrum analysis. You ping the anomaly with every sensor at your disposal. Gravimetric, tachyonic, electromagnetic, nothing. Every system reported a flat, empty void. It was like pointing a telescope at a hole in the universe. There was nothing to see because nothing was there. But your eyes told you otherwise. You saw it. It was real. It was impossible. The perfect wound just hung there. It defied every law of star science you had ever learned. It was a statement, an insult to reality itself. You opened a secure channel to command. Your voice was steady, a testament to years of drills. Epsilon Watch to High Command. I have a visual anomaly. Sector 94, Grid 7. The reply was swift, calm, professional. Acknowledged, Epsilon. Send your sensor telemetry. You tap a command into your console. The data packet transmits in less than a second. Telemetry sent. Be advised, command. All sensors read negative. The anomaly is visual only. A pause hung in the comms channel. A long, heavy silence from 1,000,000 kilometers away. They were seeing what you were seeing. The impossible made real. The perfect black tear in the fabric of space. Your long, quiet watch was officially over. The silence from high command was unsettling. You could almost hear the frantic energy on the other end. Generals awakened from their sleep. Experts summoned to baffled conference rooms. On your screen, the wound remained. Unmoving, unchanging. A silent testament to a power beyond your understanding. You ran the diagnostics again and again. The results were the same. Green across the board. The station was fine. The instruments were calibrated perfectly. The universe, however, was suddenly broken. Then came the feeling. It did not come through your headphones. It was not a vibration through the deck plates. It started as a cold spot at the base of your skull. A strange, prickling sensation that crawled up your spine. It was the feeling of being watched. You have felt it before. The instinctual dread of a predator's gaze in a dark forest. But this was different. This was sterile, dispassionate. It was the cold, analytical stare of a researcher examining a microbe. You, and everything around you, were the microbe. You checked the station's internal sensors. No intruders, no atmospheric changes, no radiation spikes. The feeling persisted. It grew stronger. It was not just a feeling of being observed. It was a feeling of being known. understood in a way that felt deeply invasive, as if something were reading the code of your very existence. Your memories, your biology, your quiet hopes and your secret fears, all laid bare. You felt an overwhelming urge to hide, to curl into a ball and shield your mind. But there was nowhere to go. This presence was not outside you. It was inside your own consciousness. A silent, unwelcome guest in the halls of your mind. It walked through your thoughts. It examined your emotions with a cold, detached curiosity. This was not an attack. It was an assessment, a planetary survey conducted by a single, immense consciousness. You tried to push it out, to build mental walls, to think of loud, distracting things. It was like trying to build a sandcastle against a rising tide. The presence was patient. It was absolute. And it was utterly silent. No alarms blared. No warning lights flashed. The greatest threat humanity had ever faced arrived without making a sound. It simply turned its gaze upon you. And in that gaze, you felt the chilling certainty of your own insignificance. The presence in your mind began to change. The dispassionate observation sharpened. It focused. The feeling of being scanned coalesced into something else. It was no longer a question. It was a statement. A series of declarations broadcast without sound or language. They were concepts. Truths delivered with the force of physical laws. Your star, the one you call Sol, was now designated. A resource to be cataloged. Your world, Earth, was now property. An asset to be managed. Your species, humanity, was now a subject. Its future to be determined by a higher authority. These were not threats. They were facts, as certain as gravity, as undeniable as the passage of time. The message was one of pure, unassailable order. It was the voice of a landlord informing the termites that the building had been sold. Your entire existence, your history, your art, your wars, your love, was a footnote in a transaction you could not even comprehend. You stumble back from your console. A wave of nausea washes over you. This was not a negotiation. It was a verdict. The scale of the arrogance was breathtaking. To simply gaze upon a solar system and declare it yours. To not even consider the inhabitants worthy of a conversation. You were not being conquered. You were being filed away. An administrative task for a power so vast, you were barely a rounding error. A red light finally blinked on your console. A priority 1 transmission from high command. You straighten up, forcing the psychic weight down. You accept the connection. The face of General Kaito Tanaka appears on your screen. His expression is grim. His face is a mask of controlled disbelief. He had clearly felt it too, or at least the leaders of your world had. Epsilon? The general's voice was strained. Report your status. What are you experiencing? A message, sir, you say, your voice hoarse. Not a sound, a concept. It's a claim of ownership. They are declaring this entire system their property. The general's eyes widened almost imperceptibly. He had hoped he was wrong. Confirmed, Epsilon. We are receiving reports of the same psychic phenomenon from sensitives across the globe. It is a broadcast of pure intent. He paused, his gaze distant. They have just made their first move. He patched you into a live feed. The image was a city, Kyoto, under the morning sun. It looked peaceful, normal. For a second, then you saw it. Nothing was moving. A bullet train was frozen on its elevated track. Cars were stopped in the middle of intersections. A flock of pigeons hung in the air like a child's mobile. People were statues. A woman reaching for her child's hand. A salaryman mid-stride. A vendor smiling at a customer. All locked in a single, perfect moment. The city was encased in an invisible cage of time, a bubble of absolute stasis. Nothing was harmed, nothing was destroyed. It was just paused. A demonstration. That's what it was. A flex of cosmic muscle so effortless and so absolute, it defied retaliation. How do you fight an enemy that can stop time? How do you wage war against a force that can turn your cities into museum exhibits? They had not fired a single shot. They had not spilled a single drop of blood. And yet, they had already won. The demonstration was a message far louder than the silent one in your head. The psychic pressure intensified. The cold, orderly command echoed across the planet. Surrender. Comply. Do not resist. Your chaotic existence will be brought into alignment. The promise was not destruction. It was subjugation, a neat and tidy absorption into their perfect, silent empire. The glass cage around Kyoto was the alternative. A gentle, permanent end to your story. A civilization frozen in its final, futile moment. Panic erupted on the command channels. Reports flooded in from every military outpost. Fleets were scrambled. Defense platforms were aimed. It was a useless, reflexive gesture. The best minds on Earth worked frantically. They fired lasers at the stasis field. The beams splashed against it and vanished. They launched missiles. The projectiles slowed to a crawl as they approached the city, then stopped, hanging in the air like toys. They even tried to tunnel underneath it. The drills stopped turning the moment they touched the field's boundary. Their power was perfect. It did not counter your force. It simply negated the concept of force. Their logic was a higher form of physics, a reality to which yours was merely a suggestion. The feeling in your head was a constant, crushing weight, a headache that filled the entire world. It was the pressure of their consciousness, a vast, unified mind of pure logic and order. It demanded you think like them, calmly, logically, to accept the inevitable. But you couldn't. You are human. Your thoughts are not calm or logical. They are a swirling mess of fear, anger, and defiant hope. You felt a surge of rage, a hot, furious spike of emotion directed at the silent invaders. How dare they? How dare they treat your world like a piece of property? How dare they freeze your people like insects in amber? And in that moment of pure, chaotic fury, the pressure in your head flickered. It was for less than a heartbeat, a momentary easing of the immense psychic weight, a stutter in their perfect, unified broadcast. You gasp, the sudden relief making you dizzy. What was that? You focus, trying to understand. The pressure returned, as strong as before. Cold, absolute, demanding. You let your mind wander again. You think of a stupid joke your friend told you last week. A silly, pointless pun that made you groan. The pressure flickered again. You think of the day your dog died when you were a child. The raw, messy grief. The illogical pain. Flicker. You think of the thrill of your first flight into orbit. The irrational, soaring joy. Flicker, flicker, flicker. A wild, impossible idea began to form in your mind. An idea so insane it felt like a hallucination. Their strength was their order. Their consciousness was a pure, coherent signal. A perfect, single note ringing across the cosmos. Your human mind, by its very nature, was the opposite. It was a storm of conflicting emotions, a chaotic symphony of memories, dreams, and irrational impulses. Your thoughts were noise, your feelings were static, and their perfect signal could not process static. The flaw was not in their technology, it was in their nature. They were beings of pure, cold reason. And they had just encountered a planet full of beautiful, terrifying, illogical chaos. They had prepared for every weapon, every strategy, every technological possibility. They had not prepared for your feelings. Your messy, unpredictable, and powerful humanity was a variable they had never considered. You had found a weapon they could not counter. It was the only weapon you had left. The realization sent a jolt of adrenaline through you. It was a madman's gambit, a desperate, illogical hope. But it was the only hope you had. You had to tell High Command. You had to explain the impossible. You opened the priority channel again. General. Tanaka's face was still on the screen. He looked older than he had just minutes ago. Defeated. General, you say, your voice urgent. I have something. It's not a weapon. It's a weakness. What is it, Epsilon? He asked, his tone weary. Another theory on the stasis field? Our best experts are stumped. No, sir. Not the field. The pressure. The psychic broadcast. You take a deep breath. I can make it flicker. I can disrupt their concentration. The general leaned closer to his camera, a flicker of interest in his tired eyes. How? What are you doing? Here it was. The moment they would decide if you were a savior or a lunatic. I'm thinking at them, sir. But not logically. I'm using emotion. Rage, fear, joy. It's like static on their channel. Their orderly minds can't handle the noise of a chaotic human thought. You brace yourself for laughter, for dismissal, for a psych evaluation order. General Tanaka was silent for a long time. He stared at you, his gaze searching your face for any sign of a breakdown. The pressure from the invaders was known to cause psychological distress. You were the one most exposed. The point of the spear was more likely you were cracking under the strain. Operator, he said slowly, are you suggesting we can defeat a star-born power by feeling at them? Yes, sir, you say, the word sounding absurd even to you. I believe that is exactly what I'm suggesting. Their greatest strength is their perfect mental order. That is also their greatest vulnerability. They are a perfect crystal. We are a hammer. Another long silence. On the command channels, you could hear the quiet despair, the reports of failed attempts, the admission of total helplessness. The world was holding its breath, waiting for the end. They had tried everything logical, everything scientific, everything military. Nothing had worked. Your theory was insane. It was unproven. It was based on the subjective feeling of a single, isolated operator. But it was also the only new idea anyone had. General Tanaka closed his eyes for a moment. He was a man of tactics, of strategy, of predictable outcomes. This was none of those things. This was a leap of faith, if into the absurd. When he opened his eyes, the weariness was gone. It was replaced by a glint of something you had not seen before. Sheer, unadulterated desperation. Operator, he said, his voice now firm. I am authorizing a global network link. We are going to put your theory to the test. You say your mind is creating static. Let's see what happens when we give them a full-blown hurricane. He turned to an aide off-screen. Get me the Chorus project lead. Now tell them we are going live, and patch their primary nexus through this operator. Epsilon Station is now the tip of our spear. The Chorus project. It was a theoretical psychic network, a wild, fringe science experiment. It was designed to link the minds of gifted individuals for information sharing. It had never been tested on a large scale. It was considered unstable, dangerous. Now, it was humanity's last hope. They were not just going to listen to your insane theory. They were going to bet the entire world on it. And they were going to put you at the very center. The technicians worked with a speed born of desperation. Systems that were years from completion were activated in minutes. The experimental network, the Chorus, was brought online. It was designed to link minds, to share thoughts and feelings on a planetary scale, a collective consciousness for humankind. Now, it was being repurposed into a weapon aimed at an enemy that could not comprehend it. Your console lit up with new data streams. Your small station was becoming the hub for a planet-wide network. You were no longer just an observer. You were the focal point, the lens through which humanity's psychic energy would be aimed. General, Tanaka's face remained on your screen, a grim anchor in the swirling storm of data. "The network is stabilizing," he said. "We are starting with a small group, 100,000 volunteers from the initial sensitives. We need to control this. A full-scale link with billions of minds. The feedback could be catastrophic." You nod, your throat dry. You could already feel the change. It was a low hum in the back of your mind, a chorus of distant voices. Not words, just feelings. The baseline anxiety of 100,000 people. Their hope, their terror, all flowing towards you. It was like standing in an empty concert hall just as the orchestra begins to tune their instruments. A cacophony of emotional noise. The weight of this responsibility settled on you. You had to channel this raw, chaotic energy. You had to shape it into a single, focused blast of human spirit. If you failed, the psychic backlash could shatter minds across the planet. If you succeeded, maybe, just maybe, you could make a god flinch. "The target is the stasis field over Kyoto," the general ordered. "We don't need to break it. Not yet. We just need to see if we can shake it. Prove the principle. Epsilon, the chorus is yours to command. The first note is yours to conduct. You close your eyes. You push aside your own fear. You reach out with your mind, not to the cold, orderly invaders, but to the warm, messy, terrified minds of your own people. You feel their collective presence, a sea of consciousness. You search for a single, unifying emotion, a feeling that every one of them shared in this moment. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was something deeper. It was defiance. The stubborn, irrational refusal to be erased. The quiet, burning anger of a people who had been dismissed. You gather that feeling. You draw it from 100,000 souls. Through the network, it flows into you. A wave of pure, concentrated emotion. It is a heavy burden, the weight of a world's hopes and fears. You hold it for a moment, a trembling, volatile sphere of psychic energy in your mind. Then, with a silent scream of pure will, you hurl it at the invaders. You aim the first note of humanity's defiance directly at their perfect glass cage. The psychic wave leaves you. It is a silent thunderclap in the space of the mind. For a moment, there is nothing. The cold pressure of the invaders remains. The stasis field over Kyoto is unmoved. Did it fail? Was it all just a delusion? The hope in your heart begins to curdle into despair. The weight of your failure is a crushing thing. Then, it happens. On the live feed from Earth, the image of Kyoto shimmers. For a single, solitary second, the frozen city blurs. A frozen pigeon wobbles in the air. The light bends unnaturally. The perfect crystalline stasis field, the ultimate expression of the invader's absolute power, tremors. It is a tiny, almost imperceptible flaw. A single crack in a flawless diamond. But it is a crack. A cheer erupts on the command channel. A raw, unprofessional explosion of relief and disbelief. It worked. Your insane theory worked. You have proven that their perfection can be shaken. You have landed the first blow in a war that cannot be fought with guns. You have shown them that the chaos of human feeling is a force of nature they did not account for. You lean back in your chair, breathing heavily. The effort has left you drained, but a fierce, burning joy ignites within you. You look at the tear in space, the perfect black wound. It no longer seems so absolute, so final. You have found a flaw in their logic. You have found a weapon in your own heart. The celebration is short-lived. The cold, sterile pressure in your mind vanishes. It is replaced by something new, something terrible. The dispassionate observation is gone. The calm, orderly demand for surrender is gone. In its place, a new emotion radiates from the tear in space. It is an emotion you understand all too well. It is rage. The invaders are no longer dismissive. You have gotten their attention. You have proven you are not just a passive microbe to be cataloged. You are a threat, a source of irritating, illogical noise that disrupts their perfect order. And they are not pleased. The psychic presence that was once a crushing weight now becomes a focused, piercing spike. It is the anger of a god. A pure, undiluted wave of psychic fury aimed directly at you. Your head feels like it will split open. The hum of the chorus in your mind turns into a scream of 1,000 voices in pain. The network is buckling under the focused assault. On the screen, General, Tanaka's face is pale. "Report, Epsilon. What's happening?" "They're angry." You grit out, clutching your temples. "They've dropped the broadcast. This is a direct attack. They're focusing on me, on the Nexus." The invaders' logic was simple. If the noise is coming from one source, eliminate that source. Their rage was a cold, sharp thing, not the hot, messy anger of a human. It was the calculated, precise anger of a being that has found an error in its calculations, an impurity in its perfect system. You were the impurity, and you had to be scrubbed clean. Pain lances through your mind. The faces of the 100,000 sensitives in the chorus flash through your consciousness. Their fear and pain become your own. You are the lightning rod for an alien god's fury. You can feel your own consciousness starting to fray at the edges. The delicate network of the chorus is threatening to shatter, an event that would cause unimaginable psychic trauma to everyone connected. "Disconnect me," you shout. "Cut the link. The feedback will kill them." "Negative, Epsilon." The general's voice is iron. "We disconnect you. We lose our only weapon. We are expanding the chorus. We're going all in." "Sir, you can't. You protest." They don't know what they're facing. This will be a massacre. "It is a price we may have to pay," he says, his voice grim. "You showed us the way. Now we have to walk it. We are not just giving you a choir. We are giving you an anthem. The final anthem of humanity." Your screen floods with new connection alerts. They are not just adding a few more sensitives. They are opening the floodgates. They are connecting everyone they can. Soldiers on the front lines, scientists in their labs, teachers in their classrooms, farmers in their fields, parents holding their children. Billions of minds. A torrent of human consciousness, all being funneled into the chorus network. All being directed to you. The hum in your mind becomes a roar. It is no longer just 100,000 voices. It is 1,000,000,000. It is the sound of an entire species rising up in defiance. The collective hopes, fears, dreams, and memories of a whole world surge through you. It is the joy of a first kiss. The grief of a final goodbye. The quiet satisfaction of a job well done. The burning shame of a past mistake. The fierce, protective love for a child. It is everything. the beautiful, terrible, chaotic sum of human experience. The invader's focused rage is still a sharp, piercing point of pain. But now you have a shield made of the shared consciousness of your entire species. You are no longer a single, isolated operator. You are the nexus of a planetary mind. You stand at the quiet center of a hurricane of consciousness. The weight of worlds is on your shoulders, but you are not bearing it alone. You feel them, all of them. Their strength flows into you. Their courage bolsters you. Their defiance becomes your own. You are humanity, and you are about to scream back at the void. You are about to unleash a storm of feeling that this cold, logical universe has never known. You are ready to shatter the perfect tier in space. You are ready to show a god what it truly means to be human.